Welcome to week 2. This week we have a number of things that we want to accomplish. Don't forget to post on the current event page on the article related to the Second Amendment. This week we'll focus on an introduction to the course, so don't feel overwhelmed. We will get a little bit of the history of the law, what is law. We'll introduce concepts of federalism and separation of powers. We will go over what is legal reasoning, why it matters. We will also have an opportunity to learn how to brief a case. We will review the Prochnow versus Prochnow case at the end of Chapter 1. And don't forget to submit online the Chapter 1 questions. So you often hear this term, or not this term, but this statement, we are a nation of laws. Well, what does that mean? What is law? What we know is that laws rule and not people. We also know that everyone is governed by the same laws, federal laws or state laws, depending on the states that you live in. No one is above the law, and that you and I can't be governed by arbitrary decisions of an individual government official. Why are those things important? Well, this idea that we were a nation of laws was extremely critical in the complex process of establishing our country 240 plus years ago. We're a young nation whose the brave leaders, our founding fathers, had put everything on the line to escape tyranny and oppression of the British Crown, which at the time was a nation ruled by people. In that case, it was in the person of King George III. That is who made the ultimate decisions. When we think of the law, many people think of law as list of things that they're not allowed to do. Well, there is a system of rules that are recognized as regulating people's actions. But more than that, the law defines boundaries and acceptable or unacceptable behavior. But what I will say that laws are more than just a list of things individuals are allowed or not allowed to do. They touch every aspect of our lives. Sometimes we don't even realize it, but the laws that were created even by our governing board of our community college district may have determined that you and I are teaching online today. Or actually, in fact, it was a rule made by our governor, Newsom. And we may not even realize it, but everything we do in some shape or form is touched by the law. Just to give you an overview of the functions of law, it does bestow benefits on people. What kind of benefits? Well, how many of you receive financial aid? Well, guess what? Financial aid, you probably got it because you submitted a FAFSA. And the FAFSA is an application used by the federal government when they created the federal programs to assist students to get their college degree. It also creates new programs. Many of you may be familiar with this term, DACA, the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. Well, this was a program that was created by President Obama during his administration to provide immigration relief to the young dreamers in our community, those that came here as immigrants without any fault of their own, so that they have the ability to get a work permit and not fear for their deportations. That is a creation of a new program. Also, it reflects society's values. Throughout history, we will see how laws have changed and how they are modified either through the legislative process, or we see that they change because of a court decision. We will get to see this during the civil rights era. We will touch upon the history of slavery and how we had changes during the period where we allowed segregation and so forth. Also, it prescribes certain activities. So these are some of the functions of laws, but most importantly, what laws do also, it provides predictability. If we understand what the laws and the rules are, people will act in a consistent way. And so therefore, that's how it creates predictability, because we know how people will act. If there is a law that says you cannot kill someone, you will likely be able to predict that the majority of people will not kill someone because that is the law. Another thing that we learn in chapter 1 is that the law is a language, not simply a collection of rules. So yes, what we've seen that it can be rules and it also bestows benefits to a community. We can say that the law is a language. It is the language that lawyers and judges use when they try to prevent or resolve problems. And we will get to see this throughout the semester as we're learning about how lawyers and judges get to make their decisions and justify their reasoning for the outcome. So let's just take a little trip back to memory lane. Yes, back to 1789 when our U.S. Constitution was adopted. We will go into a little bit of Government 101 and go over how in the United States government we are able to make law. So we know that our country was established by the U.S. Constitution. We will get into the type of government that we are in terms of federalism in the structure of our system in the next short lecture. But right now we'll focus on the fact that the U.S. Constitution established our government and became the supreme law of the land. Remember, we are a nation of laws. So, how are laws made? Well, very simple. We have a structure of government that allows for the lawmaking process. In Article 1, the United States Constitution outlines the legislative branch. The legislative branch is made up of the House and the Senate, known collectively as the Congress. Among the powers, the legislative branch makes all the laws, declares war, regulates interstate and foreign commerce, and controls taxing and spending policies. In Article 2, it outlines the executive branch. The executive branch consists of the president, his or her advisors, and various departments and agencies at the federal level. This branch is responsible for enforcing the laws of the land. However, they can also make the laws through executive power. I will give you an example shortly. The third article outlines the judicial branch. The judicial branch consists of the U.S. Supreme Court and all the lower courts that are under the federal court system. So the legislative branch can make a law by introducing a statute. Just recently, the Congress approved the Federal CARES Act to provide a relief to individuals impacted by COVID-19. That is how they passed a statute. Similarly, our executive branch can also make laws by executive order. Just a week ago, President Trump ordered the extension of the unemployment benefits that expired at the end of July through an executive order. So he is also able to make law. And then lastly, we have our judicial branch, which through the process of interpreting the law, they make law, because many times how the statutes are written or how the executive orders are written, they can be a bit ambiguous and create conflict on issues. Therefore, the judiciary comes in, interprets what the law is, and gives us an outcome, thus making law.